Mm, recording. Okay. I'm really excited. I want to show you this thing that I just did. I didn't make it up. I learned it on the podcast from Rowan, and then also it was kind of reverberated by Jamie from New Zealand Mountain Biking. So we've been talking about this thing called breaking with confidence or breaking with purpose for a long time. I ended up writing about something kind of similar, but not really like this in Free Speed. So you might have read that. But this one, we've talked about it so much. I'm like, I just need to go try this thing called breaking with purpose, breaking with confidence, confidence breaking. I think maybe we I need to get on the same page with the name. Maybe we come up with a new name because it's so cool and it worked really well for me. And I was able to cut down my Strava time by a second, even though I felt like I was going insanely slow and I was braking insanely hard every time I was braking. So I wanted to show you a few things. I wrote down a few stats here and everything. I did just record this once. It took me 30 minutes, and I was like, man, I think I can make that shorter. So people will actually stay engaged with it because I ended up repeating myself so many times. So I got a little bit better notes. I don't have like a script or anything. I'm just going to kind of go, uh, off the cuff here and talk to you about my ride. So I went out and out to a Burmy Flow Trail, which, not really my cup of tea, but it's definitely it's probably one of my biggest weaknesses because sometimes I ride with someone who's much faster than me and on a flow trail they disappear. It's like, how do they find time on a flow trail? Well, I think I know why. I know how I can find more time and how I did find more time. So a few things in here to unpack. First, let me show you the run where I was just riding normally. Now, the thing to think about when you're riding as fast as you can is a lot of times we just don't gain control. And that's kind of the main thing. So if you're trying to ride through a berm as fast as possible, you might brake really late. And don't forget what happens is that a hill is going to continue giving you speed, especially if it's something like a berm that's pointing downhill, maybe even a steep berm. You're going to gain so much speed as you go through it. So if you brake really late, you just end up kind of braking all the way through it if you don't slow down enough. And that ends up being like you turn it into like a two-stage corner where you brake and then you at an apex that you create for yourself, you go straight again, and then you create another apex and you brake again. And what happens if you do that is you exit with 0 speed, and then you just have to pedal to get back up to enough speed to keep up with your mates who have just dropped you. So being able to brake properly, get it all done, gain complete control, and carry on through the turn is really important because you can ride with more confidence. So let me show you some stats from this first one where I was braking normally, and then I'll show you how I changed it. So, okay, these are the stats that I already wrote down. So I went from, I think, so I didn't end up cutting the time here in Brake Ace, but I just looked at Strava to get my time. It was 3 minutes 43. Who knows where that is measured from, or 3 minutes 43 to 3 minutes 42 or something like that. So very good. I went faster the second one by 1 second. I had a flow score of 18. I was able to chop that down when I was braking with purpose. I was able to, I think the modulation score and my duration score stayed pretty similar because I did make a few mistakes, but that's okay. My intensity score got lower because I ended up braking harder, so that's okay. Health and effectiveness, I ended up improving my health in the next run. Effectiveness was pretty similar, but here's one of the main takeaways. Um, I ended up having shorter brake events and less overall brake time. So in this one, I had 22 events for 34.7 total seconds. Heaps on the rear brake. I had higher speed change in most of the brake events that I did, which indicated I was braking much harder. And I had a brake balance that was closer to 50-50. Whereas, when I'm riding normally, I just end up dragging heaps of rear brake. So let's dig into this and look at some of my key opportunities. Now, one of the things that you'll see as once I show you the second run is that I think these 5 brake events, I just didn't even have them at all in the second run. And that's because obviously I learned the trail a bit. I hadn't ridden it in a while. So I learned the trail a bit, and that's obviously going to affect the stats that I'm going to show you. But still, there's the completely like I attribute most of this to braking with confidence because there's not that much to learn on this trail. And these are all relatively short. So if you look at them, like that one's a brake check. So it's 0.4 seconds. We add that to 1.1 seconds, and there's another brake check. So you can see that tiny one down there. That's another brake check. Am I recording? Yes, I'm recording. It's another brake check. So they're not very long. So we're talking that's 2 seconds that I was able to remove in the other one. 2.6 seconds. And if this one is included, which I don't think it is, I think I still did that one in the next room. So there's definite learning effect that you can see, which, I guess that's normal. And that's what you would expect to happen if you rode a trail. Again, you expect to learn a bit. So one of the things that was pretty interesting was my key opportunities. I'm actually just looking at break events now. Let me get back to my key opportunities. So this one, flow score of 2.7. 2.8 there for my flow score. That's my biggest key opportunity. One break event for 4.2 seconds. Let's look at that one. So this is your standard, probably almost like a two-stage corner. Now this corner, like it's pretty steep and really fast. So I end up braking obviously really hard in there, and I can't actually see around this one because you have to brake here in like a dip, and then you get all your braking done before this sharp turn. So obviously this one would really benefit from having the data overlaid on the helmet cam so you can see exactly where you're braking. Because when you're going this fast through a turn, the best GPS in the world isn't going to show you exactly where. So that's where we see the real value of the overlays. So, but this is exactly what I thought I did anyway in the same locations. So you can see I brake really hard heading into the turn, but then I pick up so much speed that I brake again, and then I brake again. So I wasn't able to gain complete composure at all in this first kind of brake event, even though it's all characterized as one brake event because they're so close together. So it's the same key opportunity, the same brake event. So I was able to tidy that up by braking with purpose. And now this isn't the kind of braking you'll really want to see now, especially or with this one. Like this is obviously not a good one at all. Turn that off. Because here I didn't slow down enough. You can see the speed picks back up, and then I dab the rear brake and drag it through. So that's a normal thing that you'll see if you're not if you're not gaining complete control when you're braking. So instead of showing you all the things that I did bad in this one, let me show you all the things I did okay in the other one. Okay. Where's that other one? Okay, she's over here. Braking with purpose. Okay. Now, just to dig into the idea of braking with purpose, what you're trying to do is the way I thought about it, at least, this is how I went into this ride. It's like, I'm in this next run, every time I brake, I'm going to know why I'm braking. If you maybe think about the last time you rode, well, first off, if you didn't have brake ACE on, you don't know how long you were braking, and you don't know which brake you were using. And like, if we're trying to go faster, we need to know that stuff, because otherwise, how are we going to implement a change to be able to ride better if we don't know what we did in the first place? So I thought, well, here's what I'm going to do is every time I brake, I'm going to know exactly why I'm braking, and I'm going to brake really hard and take away as much speed as possible. If you think about doing that, it's going to feel incredibly slow, because every time you take away a lot of speed, you feel like you're leaving time out there, right? You feel like, oh, I could have gone faster through that. But I can't remember if I just said this before, if I said it the last time I recorded it. There's a problem with recording it twice. But the thing that happens is when you're mountain biking and you brake through a downhill corner is that once you release the brakes, the hill gives you so much speed again. And if you haven't got down to a manageable speed to start, you're going to break away. You're going to have to break that extra speed away again, because the hill's just giving you so much speed. And this is why we talk about this thing called free speed, because the hill is going to give it to you. You just need to maximize your ability to use it. And that's what I think I was able to do much better in this second run, because I'm like, well, this hill's going to give me speed, so let me take away as much as I need to be able to then redirect my gaze through the turn and get through the turn, because now I know where I'm going. I'm in complete control. So let's start with the stats. I was able to take the flow score from an 18 to a 15, so that's a nice reduction. My intensity score got worse. So these ones, 100% means you kind of maximize your ability to get flow out of this trail. I did brake hard in this run, which was kind of the point. That's exactly what I was trying to do. So that's good. My health is better because I probably removed all my brake checks. Oh, yeah. Nice. I did. I removed all my brake checks. So I went from 2 to none, which is good. It might not sound like a big thing, but that's actually nice for me because I always have heaps of brake checks. I went from 22 brake events to 17. Average was 1.5, and I got that down to 1.3. Brake power probably increased because brake time went down. So I don't actually remember what the brake power was in the last one. I went from 37.4 seconds to 23.1. You can do the maths there. Like that's an 11.6 seconds decrease just in braking time. Now I showed you, as you can see, I did remove those first couple brake events. That was like 3 seconds worth of braking. So I found some more brake time somewhere else on the track, which is cool. Also, I got closer to 50-50 front and rear balance. And obviously you have to do that if you're braking with purpose because you need to slow down fast. And you can't do that with the rear brake because if you try and grab a handful of rear brake, you're just going to skid, right? And this is one of the differences we see with beginners versus someone like an intermediate or expert or pro, something like that. Beginners use the rear brake heaps, which means they can't brake with confidence because they are lacking that confidence, right? So when you're in complete control with your bike, you can use the front brake and you can slow down fast. But beginners don't do that because they don't really yet have the sense of what that front brake is going to do, and they maybe don't know how they need to react if they do grab a handful of front brake, because you really need to be prepared for that because you're going to slow down fast. So what we see with beginners instead is they'll, stopping is one of the main things. And this, so in free speed, there was this session called Stop in the Corner. And like, what else to get confident on the dirt than being able to stop from going fast? So if you're going down a trail, if you can figure out how to stop really quickly, well, then you know how hard you need to brake as you're going down the trail, because now you know how the dirt is going to feel underneath you. You know how your brakes feel. You know how the bike's going to feel underneath you. And if you can stop in that corner, with how much more control do you need than being completely stopped? So it is like, obviously that's not going to make you go faster all the time, but if you gain a sense for what the bike's going to do under you, if you do come to a stop in the corner, say in one of your key opportunities, then you can figure out how to shorten up that braking zone. So we are talking about braking zones with Rory Bingham from Onward MTB Coaching on next week. We're doing a podcast with him, and he's going to talk about braking zones. He did this really cool testing with one of his riders, and he was able to help them use the front brake more, shorten up their braking zones. They got way faster on this track. So we're going to talk about that on Tuesday. I'll probably publish this video before that. So once that podcast is out, I will add it into the description. Or you could just follow Demystifying MTB on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. But I thought it was really going to be really cool to talk with him about how they were able to find that time, kind of shortening up those braking zones, braking with purpose, and see what his chat is basically about, how they did that and how he views it as a mountain bike skills coach. So let me show you some specific brake events. So I did mention already those 3 things. I had shorter brake events, shorter brake time. So that's one. Higher speed change in each brake event, and better brake balance. So there's that better brake balance. That's pretty cool. I can even show you that in some specific brake events. So those are like those 4 events gone, totally gone, which is cool. It wasn't the 5th. That was the 5th one still there, which is good. You can see like a nice speed change there. So minus 3.4 kilometers per hour. You can like really see how much speed was taken away in that brake event. Now let me pull up actually the other screen stats for you. Don't be looking at my bookmarks. Okay. So in that brake event, my speed change. So this is a good case in point. So the one that you're looking at right here, the speed change was minus 3.4 kilometers per hour. In the first run where I was braking normally, it was minus 0.8. So I didn't take away enough speed, which is pretty interesting. In the second run, I was able to cut it from 1.5 seconds of braking down to 1 second. The flow score, I think, ended up, the flow score actually went down too, and that's because I shortened it up so much. So half a second to remove from a brake event is heaps. So that just means I was able to ride as fast as possible before and also after the brake event. But yeah, I mean, it feels weird to try and take away as much speed as possible through a turn, but in doing that, by braking hard, like I was able to gain complete control, and it felt like complete control. It felt slow, which is a weird thing to think about in a run where you went faster. So that was cool, eye-opening for me. Let's see, 1.9. I think the other one was 2.78. So I went from a 2.8 flow score down to a 1.9, which is awesome. And I think it was also 4.2 seconds, whereas this one I was able to remove like 1.5 seconds of break time. It looks like what happened is I was actually, even if you combine these two, you get 3.6 seconds. So in the other one, I was just kind of braked the whole way through here. So, that's ugly. So I didn't nail every one of these. I did brake harder here, but I ended up having one of those terrible 2-stage turns there at the end. So still like some room for improvement. You can see the GPS it is insanely tight there. But this is exactly where I kind of expected to be braking through that turn. This is where we'd probably want to do the overlay with the GoPro. I was braking heavy, really heavy. There's like a dip there, and then I kind of braked lightly. Yeah, so I did end up having a few of those 2-stage turns where really what I should have done is just braked even harder here and removed all that speed. You could maybe look at this being like a 2-1 none a little bit, but that wasn't what I was trying to do. You should check out the blog on our website about doing 2-1 none braking. Should probably turn that into a webinar as well, because that is it's a really good way to brake, especially on steep trails. You could maybe consider it that, but that's not that wasn't my aim there. It's good 50-50 braking through there though, like pretty close to 50-50. Let's see, what is that? Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty close to 50-50. I was very close to having like a highly modulated event because of that addition of this one. Really low valleys and really high peaks. But that's okay. So I did mess up like a few other turns as well. So you can tell that I messed that one up just by looking at it. But this was the other one that I messed up. Let me click on that. Where are you? Is that you? Nope. This one. So I thought in this one I had braked hard enough, and I just didn't. And what happens is you end up having that 2 apex turn, which just you have no exit speed when you're coming out of it, and that's not a way to go faster. So even though I was trying to brake with purpose, I ended up on those 2 turns braking like I normally would because I didn't brake hard enough. And I probably should have gone back and done a third run, but it was like quite a climb to get back up, and I still had to ride home. So I was like, yeah, 2 runs should be enough for me today. So that's all I did. I could go back. I'd rather ride a natural trail anyway, though. But it's harder to practice braking with confidence on a natural trail, or at least I haven't tried it. Maybe that should be a future webinar where I practice like braking as hard as I can before a steep chute and just letting off. Coming to a stop before the steep chute, letting off, and then riding with control through it. That might be a really good way to do it. I could do that, just in my key opportunities. Yeah, I'm thinking about the trail right now, which that could be a pretty fun exercise. But doing the confidence braking with purpose idea, it works really well on flow trails because you got a berm there to support you, and you can stop and then let go and rail the berm through. And if you can't stop, let go, and rail the berm through, well, you need to look at where your braking zone is, or kind of work on your technique to be able to then stick to that berm. So it'll really open your eyes to some things that you can work on if you practice this braking with confidence, especially on a flow trail. If you're the kind of rider that can rip through a berm like it's no problem, then maybe it's not the kind of trail you need to work on. It's probably better for you to use the brake ace method on all your key opportunities. So I think I covered, actually, this feels like it was much shorter than the other one. I think I covered the main points here. There was a few events with really high speed change, like this one here had a massive speed change. I think this is it. Yep, so massive speed change there, braked really hard. 2,300 watts peak power in this brake event. Yeah, that's braking hard. I think it was like something like, oh no, 0.7. Yeah, this was the one. Yeah, so this one. Minus 3.4 kilometers per hour, whereas when I did it on the other one, not quite as good. Make sure I'm looking at the same one. Actually, I removed more speed in the other one, minus 4.5, but I braked for way longer. So this one had a much higher brake power. Yeah, by 1,000 watts. So much higher brake power. And I was able to cut that event down by like, like half a second. So that's cool. One of the things that I noticed as well, and I want to talk to you about getting tired, is this one where I had that 2-stage braking. Should be this. So we do see like this happen more as you get further down a trail, because as you get tired, your braking technique starts to deteriorate. And I started to get like overly confident with what I was doing, and I, in a way, reverted back to the braking that I would normally do. So this looks a lot like how I would maybe normally brake on a turn where I just totally mess it up, where I think I brake hard and then I let off and I have to brake again. It's pretty normal. We see this a lot. And for me, it ends up looking like this kind of a shape in the second time that I brake when I need to lose speed, because I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. I'll just ride the rear brake a little bit. I'm like, no, I don't got it. And then I'd have to dab the front brake. And to me, this is like indicative of maybe some ugly technique, which I definitely had. So it's my ride. So I can tell myself I had pretty ugly technique going through this track. And, there's always something for me to work on. And those 2-stage corners are definitely a weakness for me in these berms. Braking with purpose is the way for me to solve it. So I really like the technique. And I think, I really should go back to this track and try just stopping in the corner. Try the technique that I've been talking about. Stop in the corner, get really confident with using my brakes to just dump all the speed so I can really shorten up those brake zones. So I'm sure that there's a lot of room for improvement. Even with one of my better runs, I still have like quite a few seconds that I can gain based on one of my fastest runs on Strava. And I probably have that braking ride somewhere. But the good thing about doing these two back to back in the same day is they had this exact same conditions. So who knows what the conditions were when I went my fastest. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Anyway, I think like we'll leave it there with this webinar. The plan is to do a webinar every single month. I don't think we'll do them live, because maybe we will, but it's really hard because most people using Breakers are either in, well, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, or North America. And it's really hard to link up a good time zone to do that. So what we'll probably do is pre-record these and send them out in a newsletter. If by some magic reason you found this due to the YouTube algorithm promoting it to you, I don't see why YouTube would want to like send out a webinar, but it's really good info for you to be able to use BrakeAce. And even if you don't have one, you can use this info to get faster. Maybe you are finding it like that, but if you check out our website, you can sign up for our newsletter where we'll post the rest of our webinars. So yeah, we'll email everyone when those are ready. So yeah, if there's something you would like to see actually with using BrakeAce in a webinar style like this, let us know. Like shoot us a message, DM us, or even just leave a comment here and let us know, because we want to help you get the most of it. That's really the whole point of doing all of this, is we want to help everyone get faster. And we need to spill the beans on what people are doing with their braking, and we also need to know what kind of things that you want to see. So definitely, please let us know, and we will do what we can to help you understand what we're doing here. So let's leave it there, and we'll see you next time. All right, thanks.